Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We have a prophetic saying that's in Bukhari Muslim. And it's a common statement that circulates among people, but many times I don't think we understand the depth of what is being taught in this prophetic transmission or communication. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it's related that he said, none of you truly believes لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. That none of you truly believes until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. This hadith I've reflected upon it throughout the years. And the issue of love is a deep point because it's something which is missing in today's time. The question is, what is it that is the meaning of لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه? What is the meaning of the part where it says you don't believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself? What is the Prophet Muhammad referring to in this case? And I actually, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm not very satisfied with a lot of the stuff that I have read. I think there's some meanings there that are taken for granted. I only can consider, at least at this point in my reflection and this point in my life, that what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is talking about with regard to love here has a lot to do with the way that he dealt with humanity overall. And there are examples of what that love means, right? As far as respecting people, honoring them, and then there's the issue, do we limit the meaning of brother here to just our group, so to speak, or just a group of believers? Or do we consider it to be all of humanity? If we look at the Prophet's example, the Prophet ﷺ, he dealt with all of humanity. And there's the Quranic revelation. It shows us that Allah or God is not only speaking to the group of the believers. Allah also speaks to all of humanity, Ya ayyuhan nas. And so in the reflection, I don't think that we could really go to another level of understanding until we have some real solid discussions with regard to what love is. There's something that's very clear with regard to love, and it has a lot to do with wanting the well-being of others. And that well-being of others, in Islam is 360. You want their material well-being, their emotional, their mental, their spiritual well-being. And you want that person to be able to flourish. And then there's the issue of the good, wanting the good of the deen for others, right? Wanting the good of the deen for others. That's an important point. But if we're in a situation, and this is part of a reflection that I have from before in the past, if we're in a situation that we don't know how to really love ourselves, right, and which is the case for many people, it's going to be hard to love for others that goodness, right? But here, one of the things, and I want to end on this note, that we have to realize here, we're being taught that, love is not just about you. Really the hadith is talking about the completion of faith. That your faith is not complete, is not whole until you love for others what's good. If you love for yourself what's good, and that good is defined by fundamental values, we find them in deen, that if that love for yourself is taking care of yourself with regard to safeguarding your well-being in the spiritual world and in the material world, Yeah, and then what, so then what the question becomes, where do you stand at with the rest of humanity? This is one of the issues that I have with some people in today's time that claim to be religious. They have no compassion for people. Yeah, there's justice. That's the thing about Islam, that Islam has justice and it has mercy. Islam continues the same trend of the prophets of the past. There's no difference there. And so there's justice and there's mercy, right? But you, in order to be able to get the justice too, you have to understand where people are coming from. If you want good for the others, you have to understand where they're coming from, what their situations are. It's deep, because when you listen to people, you begin to understand their situations. And so what you understand of the situation, it begins to change when you really go deep and you see that a lot of people are actually broken and hurt. And some of the things that they do, we may have to stop them as a society because it's destructive. But there's some things that people do, a lot of it has its roots in people really being hurt, not having that love from the beginning, that nurturing, so on and so forth. So people build mistrust. They begin to distrust. Even people turn to violence and so on and so forth. These are serious breakdowns in humanity. So the issue of learning how to love others is part of that process of reconstructing, humanity. But also, in that sense of being selfless, you also have to regard yourself. That's one of the beautiful things about Islam. There's that regarding yourself is not exclusive to the point that you exclude others. And loving others is not to the point where you lose yourself. There has to be a balance. This is especially important, people, in a marital relationship. In a marital relationship, it's very important, that you realize that you're dealing with another human being. So your iman is not complete. Your faith is not complete until you love for others what you love for yourself. And that's even within the context of, a marital relationship, that has to be there. And many times, we see that reality is not there, is absent. People begin to lose themselves, and it's not healthy. It's not a sign of really loving. Because if you're trying to love the other person and you disappear and you can't maintain yourself and the only thing that exists is that other person, then how is it that you're loving that other person as you would love yourself? You know what I'm saying? That's something that you have to really consider. How is it that you're loving that other person as you would love yourself if you yourself are not even in existence? And so we end on that note. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.